All right, let's get going. So, let's see if this is working properly. Yeah, okay, perfect. Right, so welcome to your masterclass. We are going to build your confidence to show up online today and get you started to launch your personal brand. So here's how this is going to go. I mean, I'm so proud of you. You've done the hard part, you've showed up. So yeah, you're way ahead of everyone else in terms of your New Year's resolutions. So, okay, here's how this is going to go. I am going to help you build confidence to launch a personal brand, and I'm going to teach you branding, how to identify your niche, and also how to get over your fear of judgment. Your job is to engage and ask as many questions as you can and get a pen and paper because we are literally going to draw today. So if you've got a pen and paper nearby, I would recommend getting that. And also, yeah, you're welcome to screenshot any useful slides so you can use that for later for reference. Right. So today we're going to go over brand association and signaling. So branding is not like marketing because marketing is essentially advertising, right? But branding is much more deeper than that. They say it's a marathon, not a sprint, because it's how you make people feel. And that takes a long time because it's about building trust. So with personal branding and branding, say Nike or Chanel, that's taken them years to create because people essentially want to feel like they're part of your club. The reason I'm starting with this section is because I think it's so important to start with the audience rather than yourself because social media is social at the end of the day. So it's about them, it's not about you. And I think that's way more important because when you know who your ideal client or follower profile is, you can then tailor what you do, what content you produce for them. And that's why it's so serious. And branding yourself is as important online as it is in real life as well. And then we'll move on to identifying your niche, not in the way you think, because there's two different sides on the internet. Some people say, some brand experts say, you need to be very specific. You need to have a really specific niche. But the thing is, nowadays, people are going to get bored of that. Whereas on the other side, people are like, you are your niche, talk about everything else. But the thing is with your niche, it's not about being super specific and super strict and limiting yourself to one thing. It's also not about talking about everything because quite frankly you will get overwhelmed. Like your audience needs some kind of clarity, so it's about having 3 to 5 different things that you can talk about that are within your umbrella niche, your main niche, but also show a bit of your personality and your story as well, because if you're constantly just talking about one thing, people get bored. If you think about it, and yeah, if you're doing too many things as well, people will get confused and you will get confused. If you think about it in terms of like going to a sports day in school, yeah. Let me just check the chat. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's all good. Just checking. I'm just like conscious that everything's working. Okay, everything's working. We're good. Yeah. If you think of it in terms of sports day in school, like if you like to play football, like to play basketball, if you want to do all of that, you're not going to get good at one thing and people will not know what kind of player you are. Whereas if you just do basketball over time, you will get good at basketball. You might not end up being the champion of it and end up getting hired by NBA, but you will get pretty good at it and people know what you're about. So that's why it's important to have a niche. And then we'll move on to your fear of judgment. So we'll do an exercise at the end that a lot of coaches do, which is what I do in my NLP coaching as well with people. And yeah, it's how to get over your fear of being seen. And I think this will be momentous because this is my favorite part, this favorite thing I talk about, because I initially started with branding, which is what I'm obsessed with. But I've noticed over time, the more I spoke to people aren't struggling with the skills, content creating skills, or it's just more the fear of how people are going to react when they post, because essentially you are building something in public, right? It's like when you walk down the street and yeah, and do you do something stupid, or if you go to the gym and like you don't know how to use the machinery, you feel like you're embarrassing yourself, and that's way more scary than actually knowing what you're doing. Okay. Right. So who am I? So my street cred. My name is Paulina Ember. So I actually I'm ex-finance, so I went from corporate. I had two economics degrees and I went to work in a career in London, but I realized spreadsheets and numbers are not for me. So I left to get certified in neurolinguistic programming coaching. And yeah, now I work with students and help them with overcome the fear of being seen. So I actually only started posting content this year, and I've only been doing it for about 8 months. And already I've grown to over 8,000 followers across the platforms. I've had millions of views already. And one thing I realized is like it's just about getting started. You're not too late to start. And okay, I might not be the expert in the field yet, but I am 2 steps ahead of you, so I can get you started. And as for my personal story, as for my why, because I feel like that's way more interesting, we'll go into that a bit later as well. Is I am from a immigrant family. I moved over to the UK when I was young, and it was being an outsider was stressful, and it made me feel I like self confidence because of it, and because for that reason, I developed anxiety over time. And one thing that drove me is I just really wanted to be recognized. I just wanted to feel like I am something, and I wanted to become something. And one thing that really helped me with that was posting online, because when you post, that's why I love it. I think everybody should create content, because when you post about your passions and when you're forced out of your comfort zone to show your face on camera and write content, you essentially become a caricature of yourself. It brings out literally the best version of you, and it's uncomfortable at the time, but yeah, you become a better person for it. I think so, and you don't know how your life's going to change. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is, like I mentioned earlier, is we are going to start with your ideal client or follower profile. Who is the person you want to speak to? It's important we start with this, because every time you post, so I have this perfect image of one person in my head every time I post, and I always think, whatever I post, I think, okay, is this relevant to that person? Is that person going to be interested in what I'm about to say? If the answer is no, I probably either adjust the post or I don't post it at all. And I think it's important to start with that, because ultimately how platforms work, how the algorithm works, there is no one set algorithm, by the way. There's so many different ones, and it's constant machine learning. So AI is constantly learning, and with that, it's changing constantly. But at the end of the day, the algorithm is human. And what platforms want is to keep people on the platform for as long as possible. That is ultimately all it boils down to, right? So they're not going to care about creators as much. They want to help creators become better in order to keep the audience on the platform, but ultimately it's down to the audience. So it's like how relevant it is to that person. So no matter what kind of content you want to do, whether you're a business person, whether you're a finance guy, whether you're a fitness girl, you need to have like a specific person in mind that you write every post to. It's like writing to a friend ultimately. And it's not limited to that person. It's not just that person that's going to watch it or listen to it. It will be a vast various kind of people, but it is really helpful in order for you to get started and get focused on what it is you are posting. So I'll give you maybe a minute. You can draw a stick man and then just write some characteristics or even an age. Get really specific. Is it what gender, age, even nationality, everything? Do you have that one person in mind? Is it a friend? Is it someone you work with? Is it an imaginary person that you just imagined? Who's your ideal follower profile? Okay, I'm just going to check something. Right. Yeah, if you guys can write in the chat if you have access to the chat as well, if you're available, say hi. Cool. Right. 5, 4, 3, 2. Perfect. Okay. We're going to move on to the first thing we're going to talk about, which is, I think is the most important. It's about brands. and brand association and signaling. So, branding, like I mentioned before, is different to marketing. It's about how you make people feel and how they want to feel like they're a part of your club. Association is, if you think about it in terms of, if you're a fitness guy, you want to represent yourself as a fitness guy. So you want to, wear Nike and Aloe and all these brands that are associated with fitness, right? Because that's what you want people to associate you with. If you then start wearing suits, people will probably get confused, and vice versa. In terms of signaling, I always give an example of like a dating profile or an app. So when you think about it as, okay, if you post pictures of yourself in a field, like you're probably going to attract people who are into hiking or into nature, right? But then if you're not into nature yourself, then it defeats the whole point. So it is about, if you're into sports, if you have pictures of you doing sports, you're probably going to attract people who are into sports. So signaling is really important in that sense, because you are essentially a mirror to your ideal audience. So the most important thing about brand as well, and the great thing about it is it's about being exclusive. So you've got to think about what makes you better, or at least different, to other people in your field. Like, why should someone work with you? Why should someone choose to listen to you, choose to follow you? Why should someone come to you and watch your content and read your writing as well? So you need to think about your identity, and your identity is ultimately something that makes you stand out. So being exclusive does not mean being scarce or limited edition. And Chanel do this very well in terms of, Chanel is accessible to everyone, pretty much majority of people in the world. I mean, maybe not everyone can afford a Chanel bag, but if people wanted to, they could probably afford a Chanel perfume or a Chanel lipstick, right? If they save the money for it. So, but at the same time, when you do wear Chanel, it does make you feel like you're part of an exclusive club, because it gives you a sense of taste and status, and it feels timeless and you feel elegant. So that's why they do their branding really well. It's not about being unreachable, it's about being different and making yourself better. So to give you an example, you have I use Nespresso. I'll do a company brand, an influencer, and then my friend Valentina. So in terms of Nespresso, what they've done really cleverly is they've hired George Clooney as the face of the brand. And this is perfect. He is perfect because, one, he's Italian, obviously, but then also he is their ideal client profile, and they want to mirror that. And that's the kind of people they want to attract, right? So Nespresso associates themselves with George Clooney. They signal professionalism, class, sophistication. And so that's the kind of people they attract. So if you look at the target profile, the client profile, it's a senior partner and dad. If we're getting really specific, again, it's not limited to, but it's a senior partner and dad, 46, who wants a hotel level espresso, fastened machine that looks premium, like his kitchen, right? So that's the kind of people they want to target. So everything they do will have to be based around that. And then you have Grace Beverly, who's an influencer. She's probably one of the biggest influencers in the fitness industry. She owns a fitness brand called Tala. So her whole aesthetic and everything she posts about is about sports. She's big on LinkedIn as well. It's about sports, affordable quality, clean aesthetics, but it still looks very of great quality what she does, even though it's accessible to everyone. So her target profile is probably someone like her. It's an ambitious wellness girl who wants a stylish kit that performs and aligns with her sustainable conscience, right? So again, she mirrors that. So how she carries herself, the things she posts, it mirrors that. And then you have my friend Valentina. She let me use her photo, by the way. So she is looking to open her hair salon. And she does hairstyling tips, that kind of content. But at the same time, she also is very busy working a full-time. She's got a full-time career, takes care of her family, and she's into fitness, etc. So she's a very busy woman. So her ideal target profile would probably be a woman who can afford, because she also likes very premium products. I forgot to mention luxurious products. So her target profile will probably be a woman in her 30s, so one can afford these things, but it's also a woman who's very busy. So her target profile will be a busy woman who wants hair that looks luxurious every day with minimal upkeep. It's not a woman who can spend hours doing her hair up. So her content, basically how the clients she targets, would essentially be people who want to get things done fast. Hello, I'm sitting here just in my car. So branding is ultimately repeating one thing 1,000 times, not 1,000 things once. So I really want to show you these influencers. So all of these influencers have they're massive across the board. And they have, at least Jasmine Alec has about 30,000 followers, going up to Leo Skeppy, he has between 10 and 20 million followers across his channels, from YouTube to TikTok to Instagram. Jasmine Alec's probably one of the biggest LinkedIn influencers. He's been in the game for over a decade. He's often used as an example because he does branding extremely well. He's a personal brand expert. And then I decided to use some younger influencers who are big on Instagram, because that's where the aesthetics, the luxury aesthetics are. But you have to listen to what they say very often. So in terms of identity, how to stand out and make yourself different, this is what they do very well. They repeat this almost every video if you listen.
I became a millionaire at 23 years old.
Sitting here just in my car, 26-year-old self-made billionaire.
24-year-old, and I made millions of dollars.
Hi, Florence. I just saw your message. So yeah, if you see, they say their age and that they're a millionaire, and they say this every other video. So they keep reminding people who they are. Obviously, majority of us aren't 24 and millionaires. I mean, maybe some of you are, but what they do very well is they have this identity that they repeat. And Shelby Sapp, actually the beginning one, she's an influencer. She doesn't always say she's a millionaire. Sometimes she just says, I'm a sales girl, I'm a sales girl, I'm a sales girl.
I became a millionaire.
So when you're creating content, one thing you can do is just say anything that you identify with so that people remember you from. So you could say, I'm a sales girl, I'm a fitness guy, I'm a finance guy. You could say what Jasmine Alec often says is, I'm a dad, as a dad, as a dad. So he reminds people that he's a father, and it gives him that fatherly figure brand feel to him. And that's why it makes you trust him more. And you could say you're a bodybuilder. You could say you're a student. Anything that you associate with. Like I say, I'm a coach. So, and it reminds people, and it's about down to association. But if you're not sure what kind of identity you want to use, Leo Skeppy, the guy who has like almost 20 million followers, is crazy. What he does very well is at the beginning of every single video, he says the same thing over and over again. So pardon his French, but I thought this was a great example to show you. So he says,
Hello, Ansid. I'm going to show you my... Hello, Ansid. Hello, Ansid. Hello, Ansid.
He says this at the beginning of almost every video. I mean, they don't repeat this every single time, but majority of the time. And when you hear that, as soon as you're scrolling down your feed, you're like, oh my gosh, it is Leo Skeppy. Like straight away, you recognize him. What Jasmine Alec does, because on LinkedIn, for example, video's not popular yet. They say it will be popular soon. What he does very cleverly is he has a brand color that we all recognize if you are on LinkedIn. Turquoise. That's his logo, that's his brand, that's his color. He uses it in everything, but majority of his photos will have a touch of turquoise in, and it's so smart because it's subtle. But when you're scrolling on the feed and you see a bit of turquoise, you're like, oh yeah, that's Jasmine Alec. So you stop straight away because you recognize it. Even in this photo, if you can see the top right, he does it really subtly in the corner. It was just a normal photo, but he just adds that bit of turquoise, So have a think what you want to repeat often that people eventually recognize you for. So how can someone identify you? And another important thing is to build your credibility system. So to get people to trust you, because that's ultimately what branding is. So your credibility system is what makes people stay and trust you as an authority. So if you think about your job title, this could be mum or dad as well. Student is a job title. Bodybuilder is a job title. If you repeat this often in every 3 to 4 posts, people start associating that. And then you've got like your assets. So you could say, oh, I've won 6 awards for this, and this is what I've learned. Name associations are really powerful. Simon Squibb talks about this often. He's like, if you've worked with some brand that's relevant to your brand. So obviously, again, if you're a finance guy, don't mention you worked with Nike because it makes no sense. But if you're a fitness guy and you work with Nike, flex that. Use that as your leverage often when working with Nike. Blah blah blah. So that will make people trust you more. Same with your experience. So I personally trained teams of 30 plus in my corporate roles in the past. So I would say that I train teams of 30, and this is what I've learned from this experience. And then you've got your credentials, your degree, your certification, and your proof. So I've got over 2 million views in the space of 7 months, and here's what I learned from that, and this is what worked for me. So write that down if you want. You can screenshot this as well because this might help you. Moving on to your niche. So your niche, which is what I spoke about earlier, it's about having at least three to five things, they say, that are relevant to you and your umbrella niche. So say you're into fitness, having 3 sub niches that you can talk about that are related in some form. So niche, these obviously don't be too specific because it gets boring really quickly, and if you're repeating the same thing over and over again, you'll get tired of it, your audience will get tired of it. But if you say you are your niche, but then you're like you're a finance guy who loves talking about travel and cooking, people get confused and they're not going to know what you're about, and they're not going to want to follow you because it's like, what are you actually an expert in if you like everything, So it's about getting specific, and it's about having clarity for your audience, but also for yourself, to stop you from getting overwhelmed. Because the thing that people struggle with the most, I've noticed, is not about finding what to post about. It's about finding what not to post about, which is crazy. So because people want to do everything, they want to try everything, they like everything, so they want to post about travel and oh, I'm traveling here, and then now I'm doing this workout at the gym, and now I'm like learning this in my finance career. So and it has to, and yeah, that gets boring really quickly as well for you, because there's one thing or 2 or 3 things in your life that you love talking about every single day that will help you stay consistent, because if that's something you talk about anyway, that's the thing that you should be posting about. So, for example, we have, back to Nespresso, so their umbrella niche ultimately is culture, because they follow the culture, right? Hotels, travel, coffee. That's what people know them for, because they're so efficient. So their sub niches would be coffee, luxury, travel, hotels. When you go to conferences, hotels, there's usually an espresso machine there, and corporate work as well. So in offices, you've got espresso machines. There are the sub niches that they focus on in terms of how they brand themselves. Then you have Grace Beverly, who fitness. So she has a company that produces sustainable activewear, and obviously she talks about business. She's got a business podcast about running a fitness company, and also she touches on well-being as well, fitness well-being. She's got a fitness app in terms of teaching people training as well and taking care of their body. Then you have my friend Valentina, who, if her niche is hair, she can talk about like hairstyling, high-end products, like glow-up tips. These are the kind of things that would fall under that, like pre-in products as well, and that would help her get brand deals as well. So if she focuses on those, it'll help her get really specific on what she wants to post. So screenshot this. This would be super useful. Have your main niche, but then you can diversify under that. So even if you are a finance guy and you want to post about your recent travels to Iceland, you can, but you have to revert it to finance in some way. You can be like, when I went I went for a weekend break to Iceland this month, and I paid £20 for a pint of beer. And this is ridiculous. This is outrageous. This is what I learned from the situation about finance. This is what taught me about finance in the UK, right? So again, revert it back. Giving Grace Beverly as an example, fitness, and then you can see her sub niches, which is sustainable activewear, business, well-being, and then you have her content ideas. So she could talk about, under activewear, she could talk about sculpting and do how to style videos. Under business, on LinkedIn, she could do her podcast, post her podcast videos, or do posts about productivity and what it's like to run a fitness company. And then under her well-being, she's got her app. So, and she's invested in nutrition, food, like fuel as well. So everything's so relevant. Even though she does like a million different things, it all falls under one niche. Moving on to the trifecta. So this is what makes you an authority in your field. And I think with content, it's not so much about being an influencer anymore. It's more about being an authority. And that's where the social media game is going, right? It's about being a creator, but being an expert in your field and having services or a product to sell. It's not about getting brand deals anymore, because follow count doesn't matter as much anymore. It's about what value you can provide people. And we will go on to this. But that's why it's good to have this breakdown of your stuff to help you you'll gain clarity from it when you can see it broken down into 70% expert content. So this is your credibility system, what we spoke about earlier. So your job title, your credential, your experience, your proof. And that is what drives your authority, inquiries, and nurtures your existing audience. That's what keeps people following you. And then you have your 20% growth content. So that's your trending content, that's your fun content, right? That's your viral content. That's what gets you views, and that's what attracts followers. So that's low impact, basically. Whereas credibility system, that's what nurtures, that's really high effort. And then you have your 10% personal storytelling, which is, why should people follow you? Why should people listen to you? What's your story? And it's not, oh, I worked in finance and now I decided to become a coach. No, it's about why deep down. I know it's not about the money. It's like, what is the deep reason? What is the real reason why you decided to do what you do today? Like with me and coaching, is because I struggled with self-confidence myself growing up and I really wanted to be recognized. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I help people. And I also love posting content and creating a caricature version of myself. The most important thing now going into the new year is your content point of view. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately because the game has changed completely and it's going to continue going that direction. This is my prediction. So when I say why you, like why should people listen to you, you've got to think about what is your point of view, like what are your values? So what is your opinion? Because people don't care about facts anymore. Like anybody can put a question in ChatGPT and get its answers. So if you think about in the 90s, we had TV, right? We watched TV and you watched a Saturday Night Live show and they presented a joke about why did the chicken cross the road. You would think it's absolutely hilarious and you would talk about it the whole week. Thing is, that doesn't make us laugh anymore. That just doesn't cut it anymore for us. Because in 2010, when we obviously around that time we started getting smartphones, our standards have increased. So now these old school jokes just don't cut anymore. We want faster entertainment. We want better jokes. We have higher standards in terms of quality of content. So it's not about people's attention spans getting shorter. That's a complete myth, because if you go meet a friend, you can literally speak to them for hours. Or if you do something you really enjoy, if you're painting or if you're going to gym and it's what you absolutely love, you can do it for hours. So attention spans have not gotten shorter. It's just people's standards have gotten a lot higher. So if people actually like something, they will invest time into it. And so now with AI, think how much smarter you were with your smartphone and think how much smarter you're going to be now with AI, right? So the standards are going to grow even more. So the only way to compete with AI is literally through having your own human point of view. It's like, what is your opinion? Because AI will give people the results they want to any question they've got, the answers. So it's about you actually giving your own perspective on it. So it's not saying, hey, okay, how to make 10K a month. It's not about that anymore. It's about, here's how I made 10K a month, and this is what worked for me. And people will be much more interested in that because, like, oh, okay, this is a unique point of view. So unique value proposition, ultimately, UVP. And if you're not sure what your point of view is, that's completely fine as well. Like one thing we do in coaching, NLP coaching especially, is we get people to write down 50 statements to be absolutely true. For example, the sky is blue, right? That is a true statement. But these are statements about anything related to your life, to your passions, and you've got to think about what is the common theme between those statements. So don't do this now because it's going to take a long time, but this will indicate what your belief system is. So write 50 statements to be absolutely true to you about anything related to you, your life, your passions. Right, okay. Another exercise. So you can screenshot this. I think we'll do more than a minute for this because there's a lot of questions here. At least write the questions down so you can have a think about later. But this will get you started in terms of creating content. And I think in terms of having a point of view. And I'll go through this as well. So I will want you to answer these questions, but I'm going to have a sip of water first. Whoop, right, I didn't start the timer. Okay, got the timer. Right. We'll go through each question. So, what are the three topics you love talking about the most every day? If you think about the things you just do not shut up about, that might help you. The second question is, what skills do you have that people come to you with for advice? What is something that you're quite knowledgeable on? It can be anything. It doesn't have to literally be like crocheting. It could be literally down how to make the perfect sandwich, right? What are your top three values? Again, that goes down to your statements of what things you know to be absolutely true. And that will really help direct your content as well, because that is something you can touch on regularly. If you're religious, you'll probably follow a lot of content, religious content. So that's something you can add to your content as well. But the hardest one, I think, is what views do you challenge? Like, what is your point of view enemy? And for example, for me, which is something I've been talking about a lot recently, which you might disagree with, and a lot of people I know disagree with, is I believe oversharing is going to die next year, basically, or at least be reduced. It's just not going to have the same impact it has now or it had in the past year, because everybody's crying on camera now, right? And it's gotten to the point where people are getting exhausted by it. So I believe like oversharing, it can actually damage your brand, especially if you're a finance guy or if you're an authority, because people are not going to feel like you have that strength to be the authority in that field. So you can state your pains and the things that you've suffered for in the past, but how did you overcome it? So talk about like what worked for you? How did you overcome it? How did you get better? It's this hero mentality. It's not this like woe is me, pity me, woe is me kind of feeling where you want to use social media as therapy. No, it's about how did you overcome a challenge and what can you teach your audience? How does it serve your audience? And yeah, ultimately, what is your story? Like, why do you do what you do? What got you to where you are now? And I think that's the most powerful, because that is what people connect with. I'll do one more minute and then we'll carry on. Hi from Australia. Any more seconds? Right, moving on. Obviously, if these questions are tough, you can think about them more in depth later. One last thing I wanted to touch on in terms of content and branding is storytelling, because people have this mistake, this idea that the story has to be dramatic. It has to be like, oh, I almost died and I came back to life kind of story, where it's not like that at all, because some of the most compelling stories are the most simple. And I always use this example of going to the shop to find the perfect sandwich. Like, that is such a compelling story. You want to know what sandwich you find. So every compelling story follows this pattern. I think this is useful in terms of content. You've got the setup, and it's this hero mentality, like the problem, how you're feeling, and the solution, right? So you have the setup, step one, where you establish the relatable struggle. So you say something like, I was really hungry and had no food in the house. Then you have step two, the pivot, the moment that changed everything, the U-turn. So I made the decision to go to a local shop to find the perfect sandwich. And then you have step three, the transformation, the new reality, but we're keeping it human. It's not going to be some dramatic sci-fi movie reality. It's just, when I got to the shop, they released a new limited edition sandwich that blew my mind, and my stomach is full and I can get on with my day happy. And that is a great story. I would listen to that. And when you tell your story, talk to the other person behind the screen as you would with a friend. Don't say something like, "Oh, I am happy to announce that I resigned from my role at this company." Like, you don't talk like that, not in real life. If you go meet a friend and tell them you quit your job, you're like, "Oh, I quit my job. Guess what happened? And I spoke to my manager and they said this, I said that." That's how you should literally frame your stories, even on camera, and when you write posts as well in your copywriting, because it makes people draw. And it's like the best way to write, especially on LinkedIn, is as if you're texting a friend. That's what people want to read. They don't want to read your jargon because half the time they don't even know what you're talking about. So, oh yeah. Oop. Okay, moving on to the last thing is your fear of judgment and your fear of getting started. I want to remind you that everybody has anxiety, and we'll go into the science behind why, because creating content is probably one of the most exposing feelings you can have. And everybody, even the biggest creators, people who have been in the game for years and years and years, still get anxiety because you are experimenting in public, and that is terrifying to anyone. No matter how popular you are, you feel vulnerable because you feel like people are judging you. But I just want to remind you, when you start content, is you will suck. You will suck, and you have to accept that. When you go to the gym for the first time and you don't know how to use the machines, it's embarrassing because you're walking around the gym trying to figure out what to use, how to use it. It's so embarrassing. But you have to learn in order to get better at it, in order to get good at it. You've got to put in the reps. So you've got to accept the fact that you will be crap, pardon my French, at the beginning. And that's okay. Everybody goes through that. And I was comparing myself to this big influencer the other day, literally like 2 days ago. And they have like 300,000 followers, and their content's amazing. And I thought it was really fun. I can't remember what he's called. It's this guy. He's actually moved to Dubai recently, which I'm going to next week. I'm so excited. But I was like, how's he getting millions of views on his videos? But you know what I did? I was like, what really helps me is I always scrolled back right to their beginning to see what their old videos were like. And I did that, and I scrolled, and I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I was like, this never ends. This guy's posted like probably over 1,000 times. Like, I didn't realize he posted that many times. And I got to his initial videos, and they were terrible. They were like some fitness videos. He doesn't even do fitness anymore. And they were like really bad quality, and they were embarrassing. I'm like, oh, but you know what? He pushed through it, and he got better. And the only way you're going to get better is by putting in the reps. And the only way you're going to learn is by doing it in public. And yeah, it's embarrassing, it's cringy, you will suck, but it's part of it. Everybody has to go through that. There's one huge influencer as well who came out recently. She has over 1 million followers. She's amazing. I think she's called, again, I forget her name, but her Blair Walnuts, that's it. I think she's a comedian now, or like does like fashion influencing, etc. She said, "Look, you think I got lucky because I have 1 million followers?" She was like, "I posted over 30,000 times. I didn't get lucky. She created her luck." And you can do that with content. But yeah, just accept that you'll be bad. Everybody is. So, getting over your fear of judgment. This is why you have anxiety before you hit post, and every single person does. Even I do now. Even though I post daily now, but I only started posting daily maybe like a month ago. I started posting consistently at the start of this year, about 7 months ago, 8 months ago. So I still get anxious and I still feel disheartened sometimes, and it's completely normal. It's because you have a fear of judgment. It's biology. Because social judgment, so this is a study done by Eisenberger at UCLA, and she scanned people's brains. And social judgment activates brain regions associated with physical pain. So it leads to a sensation of emotional distress that mirrors physical pain. So when you feel rejected, it literally hurts, physically hurts. Psychological research indicates that social exclusion and rejection trigger similar neural pathways as physical injury causing activity in areas like the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, DACC, and insula, which are known to process physical pain. So this is very wordy and sciencey, but basically, if you feel like you're being rejected in any, even by posting online, and like say you lose one follower, you will get anxiety. It will make you uncomfortable, but you have to, if you want to be a content creator in the future, you have to get through that discomfort. If you want brand deals, you have to get through that discomfort. It's embarrassing and it's cringy. And one thing that we'll do right at the end, my favorite life-changing exercise, is hopefully that will help you work through that. And Stephen Bartlett said something amazing recently, but before I tell you what it is, what I say is the faster you get over the cringe mountain, the better. The more reps you put in, the faster you'll get better. And Stephen Bartlett, literally 2 days ago, he was doing a live workshop at a company or like in an office area, and someone filmed him, an influencer filmed him, and he said, "You are going to be annoying to someone regardless. Regardless, no matter what you do, you are going to be annoying. So choose your annoying." And I agree with that. And at the beginning, if you feel like you're only getting one like, or it's your first ever podcast episode, it's your first ever written post on LinkedIn, it's your first ever YouTube video, if you get 2 views, if you get 1 like, if you get 200 views on TikTok, you've got to realize like that's completely normal. Like barely anyone's ever gone viral in the first 6 months, first 3 years even, and we'll go into that in a minute. You've got to realize that being invisible at the beginning is such a good thing, because this is a time for you to experiment, try different formats, try what works for you, what you enjoy making, what you enjoy writing about, what kind of topics you want to dive into. So you have to use this time to experiment, learn how to write, create content, because being irrelevant is your advantage. Because once you gain your relevancy, and once you become an authority in your field and you have an audience, your stakes are going to be much higher. So you're not going to be able to experiment so much. You're going to have a specific niche at that point. You're going to have to be a lot more cautious about what you post and how you word things. So now social media is literally your playground. So use it. And again, it takes time. It takes a long, long time. It's very rare for someone to go viral in the first year. Very, very rare. I'll talk about the statistics as well. So showing up consistently is important to build trust and become reliable. So if you have to think about your inputs, not your outputs, because ultimately it's not about, oh, if I post 5 videos, if I post 5 written posts, I'm suddenly going to be trusted and everybody's going to think I'm an expert. No, people don't know you. It takes a long time. When you meet someone in person, they say it takes between 20 and 40 hours of spending time with that person to even consider them as a casual friend, as a colleague. That's a lot of time. So obviously online, this is a lot longer, because how are you going to get 40 hours with someone online, right? So you need to post consistently, ideally at least once a day. Eventually, obviously, when you first sign out, it might take you a lot longer to edit videos, to write posts. So obviously it's not, I wouldn't recommend it at the beginning. Maybe start with like 3 to 4 times a week and then increase your volume as you go. But you need to do that in order to build trust and be reliable. If you're showing up every day, people are going to start recognizing you, be like, oh, this person's serious. They're actually showing up every day. So they must actually want to be a creator. They must actually want to be an authority in their field. In the corporate role, they must actually be a founder-led brand. And trust is built by making your audience see as an authority. So use your credibility system I mentioned earlier to build that. So repeat your identity, right? Repeat saying you're a mum every day, or even like say I'm a married woman every day. That was something that people will recognize you for. And relate to your story as well. So obviously, if people know your deep reason why, they'll be like, oh, I get that. So when I tell people, oh, I wanted to be recognized my whole life because I felt like an outsider growing up, I know a lot of you will probably be able to relate to that. And people also have to admire and value you. So you have to be the mirror to them. So you have to represent what they want to be. So when you have a brand and you're specific of what your follower profile is, you have to then become that. You have to be the transformation, the outcome of who they want to become. And you have to show up no matter what, even on days when you can't be bothered and it's uncomfortable, because it takes a long time. Even Stephen Bartlett, right? Well, you all know Stephen Bartlett. If you don't, you've clearly been living under a rock. literally posted this maybe a week or a couple of weeks ago. He, for 3 whole years of running the Diary of a CEO, his podcast, he barely had any views. 3 years. And look at him now. Now he's got over 13 million subscribers on Spotify. Can you see that graph? It's insane, but that's how it works. So obviously I'm in year one. So I've only been doing this for 7 months, around 7, 8 months. So I'm not getting disheartened because I'm aware of this. Like, I know this is what it takes. So it's about starting and not stopping. You've got to give yourself some kind of grace in that it'll probably take you a month to even know how to edit. It'll take you about half a year for you to even start getting any followers, any reach. It'll take you a year of posting consistently to even become recognized. And it'll take you 3 years to go viral. And this has statistically been proven. She's called Millie on YouTube. She actually looked at the statistics. She studied the top creators on on majority of platforms, and actually looked at how long on average it took them to blow up, to go viral. Statistically, the biggest creators you follow now, it took them 3 years to go viral. And it's not about one, it's about building trust and being consistent over time so people know you're reliable, so people know what you're about. But also getting the reps in, it means you're going to get better. And it's going to take a while. It's like you've got to think of it as going to university. Give yourself at least 3 years. If after 3 years you're seeing zero growth, I'd probably pivot, try something else, or like maybe get a coach who can help you. But Alex Hormozy as well, like he recently beat the Guinness World Record for the fastest selling non-fiction book in history. Non-fiction book, can you believe that? But you know what? It wasn't to do with anything on his launch day. It had nothing to do with that. He's been posting since 2013. He's been posting for over a decade. And you know what he said on a video recently? He didn't say post every day, which is what I'm telling you to do. Like, I post once a day. That's 365 times a year. He posts 30,000 times a year. 30,000 times compared to 300. So it's all of, he always talks about volume, and a lot of the time it is that, because it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just people don't know about you yet. Just no exposure, and you need to keep increasing your exposure. But the only way to do that is by posting as much as you can. Yeah, obviously, still live your life, because I'm all for mental wellness. So social media can be draining. So it's about how you fit that into your life. And that's why it's good to only talk about things you feel passionate about as well, because you're going to want to talk about them. So you have to focus on your input, not the outcome always. Even if you get one view, think of it as a lesson, like, okay, what could I do differently next time? Or how can I improve in the next post? So this is going to be the last exercise we're going to do. And I think this is the exercise that really changed my life personally. Which is why I do crazy stuff like get one-way ticket to Dubai. But identity, talking about self-identity, you will never, this has been psychologically proven, that you will never outperform your self-identity, how you see yourself. But the only way to improve your self-identity, how you see yourself positively, is through your self-talk, how you talk to yourself every day. If you believe you're capable, if you believe you're confident, you will start behaving in that way. And it might take some time, but if you keep repeating yourself that, eventually you will internalize it and you will convince yourself. So that's why they say affirmations are ridiculous, but they do work if you generally say this to yourself every single day for a long period of time. So if I tell people I'm an active person, I'm going to go to the gym because that's how I'm going to behave. So your self-identity determines your actions. And then your actions, so me going to the gym as an active person, is proof, which provides evidence that I am an active person. So then that reinforces my self-talk to myself and my belief that I'm an active person. If I tell myself I'm capable, I'm going to do things that make me feel capable. So think about the things you want to tell yourself every day, because over time you will start behaving in that way. And this last exercise that we're going to do is, before we do, if you've got any questions at all at the end, but this last exercise we're going to do is we're going to help you create a persona of your self-identity, of who you want to be and who you want to become in the next year. So think of who you are. Obviously, think of who you are now and who you want to be, and write some descriptive words of where you see yourself in a year's time. Like, do you want to become more confident? Do you want to become more knowledgeable in a certain skill? Do you want to get good at copywriting? And write it in the present tense. You could be like, "I'm a great writer," or you could be like, "I'm really into fitness," and name that persona. It can be anything. So you've got Michael Jordan had the Black Mamba. Beyonce Knowles had Beyonce, so nothing crazy. But my friend recently asked him. He called himself Big Shark. I have a client who called himself Maverick. So it can be literally anything. But create this persona of yourself that you will evolve into, and write everything in present tense. Like, are you generous? Are you confident? Are you smart? Be like, I am capable, I am intelligent, I am confident. And write that down and then use that. And this should be not your goal, but who you're going to evolve into, and start behaving like this persona of you. That's your dream persona. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. Oh, it's nearly been an hour. Oh my gosh. I feel like I could talk about this for hours. I don't know if I'd probably have time for a Q&A. We have 5 more minutes. But if you have any questions, you can drop them in now before I end this. I hope you guys fully enjoy this as well. Let me know what you thought about it. Right, I'll give you 1 more minute. I'll probably post this on YouTube as well. Why not? Okay, 3, 2, 1. You made it to the end. Proud of you. So, one last message to you before we end this. I just want to tell you that there is one person out there who needs you. Be it you 2 years ago, what you wish you would have known. And yeah, and if you can write to that one person, if you can make that one person's day, that's better than anything. Just think about that one person, not a million. And yeah, if you want to book a call with me, visit my website, paulinaember.com, and I hope you enjoyed this. So we have time for a Q&A, but I hope you had a great time and you enjoyed my masterclass, and I'll hopefully do some in the future. So thank you for joining so much. I will unshare my screen. Oh, Florence has a question. Okay, sorry. How do you find balance? Okay, I've got time for a question. How do you find balance finding your niche and sub niche and being relatable to a big audience? Well, if you think about it this way, people will watch various types of content, not necessarily something they would watch every day. I like being active, but I'm not necessarily into fitness, but I'll sometimes watch that. So it's about having an umbrella niche, like a big niche that you're into. Say you're into painting, um, and sticking to that, because it's about nowadays it's more about finding a community rather than, you can still use trends to access that big audience that are more generic, to then attract them. But ultimately, it's about building your little community that people like, about the stuff that you feel passionate about, that people can relate to. And sharing your story as well will make you relatable to a big audience, because because people connect with people on that level, even if they don't necessarily relate to it in that sense. Well, if you have any more questions, you can email me as well at management@paulinaember.com. So I'm so glad. Thank you, Florence. She said that was awesome. So thanks again and have a great day.